In a world teeming with supernatural claims, from aliens and ghosts to cryptids, religions, and other unexplained phenomena, enter Captive Desk that offers a skeptic's perspective. Join us for engaging discussions, opinions, scientific analysis, and a dash of humor as we delve into the unknown, unravel the mysterious, and confront the otherworldly as we seek to distinguish fact from fiction at the Captive Desk. Greetings. Welcome to the Captive Desk, and welcome Joe from the Kentucky Atheist. Hello, Joe.
What's up, Dave?
How you doing today?
I'm good. Down for some creationist nonsense.
Joe and I like to talk about things that are going on with the creationists, especially with Ken Ham, because Joe's in Kentucky. So I came across this video and I thought, oh, Joe just might be interested in taking a look at this. It's not a very long video. It's by Peter. He's a young earth creationist. You may have seen him around. I know he's been here and there a little bit. And Peter's a good guy. He seems like a good guy. And he doesn't, he's not in too deep. So, you know, there's hope that he won't be YEC someday. So, he does refute some bad YEC arguments, so credit due. And we're not here to give him a hard time. Basically, he's asking a bunch of questions, and he basically said, well, let me know in the comments what you think. And I did leave a comment, but I thought, you know, we would do this too and kind of address it thoroughly. And I have another opinion, so what's what we got Joe here for? Always good to have another set of eyeballs on the subject, right? And hello, everybody in the chat joining us. Good to see everybody. Got Al here. Good to see you, Al. Hope you're doing good. You look a lot better. Saw you on your stream earlier. Yeah, good to see you up and about. And yeah. Robin's here. We got Ray. We got Lupin. We have Stacy, we have Paradise, like Paradise. Yeah, okay, Paradise. Paradise. Yeah. And Michael, hello. And so yeah, this is like I say, we're not going to give him a hard time. We're going to try and be constructive and behave ourselves for a change. So we'll see how it goes.
You're going to try.
So, yeah, we try to give people a fair shake at the Captive Desk, and I know Joe does too. Some things maybe a little tongue-in-cheek and everything, but, you know, if you put a video out, you know, you should expect some responses, right? So let's take a look at it, and we'll get right into it here.
Hi there, I'm a young earth creationist, and today I want to talk a little bit about whether or not creationism is a conspiracy theory. Now,
okay, before we even get started, before he starts defining conspiracy theory, let's double check. According to Google with dictionary.com, I believe it is here, a conspiracy theory is a belief that some secret but influential organization is responsible for an event or phenomenon. So what do you think, Joe? Is that a good, is that good by you, what a conspiracy theory is?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think it's broad, but sure. I would say in anything that more than one person conspire to uh, lie or hide the truth, just as a colloquial definition. But yeah, I think that's a perfectly good definition.
And
Dictionary.
scrolling through other ones, there seems to be consistency with a small group and being intentionally dishonest.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go with there's a small organization, influential, that's responsible for something, and often because they are not being truthful. So that's where we're going to go.
Yeah. I'm fine with that.
All right.
You probably already know my answer. I wouldn't be a creationist if I thought that being a creationist was conspiratorial.
Not a good argument, my dude. Nobody believes they're in a conspiracy theory. If they believe a conspiracy theory, that's right. That's
Yeah, whether he believes it's a conspiracy theory or not is irrelevant to whether it is or not, actually.
right off the bat, Peter. That's really, really bad. That's like somebody in a cult or anything else saying, "We're not in a cult." And well, of course you don't believe you are. That's kind of the point, right? To fool you into it, right?
So I have a bias, but I think it's important to be self-reflective and to think about your own motives and thought processes to properly analyze why you come to the conclusions that you do. So part of this video is just an exercise in being self-critical. Am I truly a conspiracy theorist? Is there a way in which I can actually distinguish what I believe from the definition of a conspiracy theory?
Okay. Well, that part was just fine. So he's now going to go into what he thinks a conspiracy theory is, and I guess he's trying to see if he's in one. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's trying. He said self-reflect and check it out and everything. So, what do you think, Joe? How much self-reflecting on it do you think he's done?
I think since he believes that the young Earth creationist model is true, that he's going to have a lot of trouble being self-reflective in an honest way. But whether he realizes it's dishonest or not is different.
And he is going to make some points to try and argue his case. So when we get to those, we'll point them out.
Unfortunately, among some kind of groups today, conspiracy theories are kind of promoted. And the idea that someone is conspiracy or a conspiratorial isn't viewed as negative, it's viewed as a positive.
That does seem to be a problem these days.
And they would be a conspirator, not a conspiratorial.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Just saying.
If you're conspiratorial, that means you're properly, sufficiently critical of mainstream ideologies or agendas. Others want to label everything they disagree with as a conspiracy theory. So I think we have to kind of begin by, first of all, kind of setting a baseline for what a conspiracy theory really is. And I think generally it can be agreed upon that a conspiracy theory is this idea that there is some secret plot or conspiracy that is furthered by people who have power or influence. In other words, powerful people are pushing a false agenda to get away with some secret objective.
All right, we're gonna agree so far. That's pretty much what we said a conspiracy theory is. It's some kind of organization that has this power. I'm not sure.
I don't think it has to be that they're powerful or any of that. I I think that he's poisoning the well a little bit with that, but we'll see where he goes with it, because I think that's where he's going to push it to.
But
But
he did.
I
He
haven't
did.
seen this, by the way.
He did slip in some dishonesty there. And that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's pretty much what we said. Somebody's being dishonest. A small organization that may or may not have a lot of power, but they're trying to influence something. I see Logan here and AJ's here. Hello. Thanks for stopping in.
Hey, everybody.
I think it is also important to explain what I mean when I say that I'm a creationist. I am a young earth creationist. So I believe that God created the world through his supernatural power, that he spoke things into existence, and things both material and spiritual beings like the angels came into existence through his power. And I believe that this creation event happened over the course of 6 literal, ordinary 24-hour days, and that this creation event happened about 6,000 years in the past.
And right there, we have a big problem with young earth creationists. I mean, I can understand a belief in a higher power made everything, and all that kind of stuff. But 6,000 years is, it's impossible on so many metrics, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's that, and I think that's where the problem is because if you accept that's true, of course you don't think it's a conspiracy or a conspiracy theory. Like that's where he's gonna. Of course, he doesn't think it is.
And with the early, this is one of the excuses that they often make is they'll deny dating methods and all this stuff, but the earliest geologists / naturalists, they were guessing millions of years at least, just when they were looking at the layers because of how long it would take for the deposition of seas to come and go, forests to come and go, deserts to come and go, and then repeat it on top of each other and again with all the generations of trees and fish and land animals, whatever were in that environment. That early estimates just from observation, you can get very long ages. So
rather than being self-reflective, he needs to work on being skeptical.
I see Jess stopping in, and who else? Farm is here. Hello, everybody. Got people on both channels. Thanks for joining us. We're checking Peter out here. He's a young earth creationist who wants to know if he's in a conspiracy or not. So we're going to find out.
Now, this version of history is very much rejected by mainstream science. Mainstream geologists argue that the world is much, and the universe is much older, about 13 billion years. And evolutionary scientists argue that God did not create various forms of life, but rather that all life evolved from a common ancestor. And so you have to understand that young earth creationism is very much repudiated by the mainstream scientific community.
Yes, for good reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll repeat again. I can understand accepting a higher power and you can believe it created everything in some fashion. But most religious people accept well-established science. And they can still believe that, well, God still did it. That we can, we can understand that kind of thing. But when it's 6,000 years, you have so many things. The speed of light, civilizations that have been around for a lot longer than that, dating methods, and just deposition, including ice cores, including core samples from all around the world.
Trees.
You get long ages, okay, without ever using. You can deny the modern dating methods, but you also have to accept that this young earth creationist belief really is a new belief. I mean, Bishop Ussher a few hundred years ago made up these timelines. And the modern creationist movement, there were some small groups early in the 20th century and, some pockets here or there. But really, it's been the generation of Ham and Hovind and the rest of them since Morris wrote his Flood book that this modern young earth creationism movement has started. It is not something that's been long held by the church or Christianity or most other religions for that matter.
Now, my belief that mainstream science is wrong about the age of the Earth and the origin of life may very well strike you as conspiratorial. Surely the belief that so many different scientists all around the Earth are wrong must have some conspiratorial aspect to it.
All right, Joe, there we go. What do you think?
I think that it's not him being conspiratorial. He thinks that there's a conspiracy to say that the Earth is older than it is. And that's what he just pointed out there by saying, I think all these scientists are just not that they got it wrong, but they're being untruthful about it, is how he's pointing to it. So,
and he has clearly pointed out that almost every scientist that doesn't work for a creationist organization doesn't accept anything the creationist organizations say. And in many cases, they outright refute it.
Sometimes.
And I see Punk. How you doing, Brentley? Beamsy. Aunt Jur. Hello, everyone. Good to see you.
And Beamsy's right about this. The church gave up the young earth creationist model for a period of time, and then it had a resurgence. They haven't even always been consistent in holding this belief that the earth is young.
Yeah, that's one of the big arguments I would use against Ken Ham if I ever ran into him, is that, yeah, you're not being truthful that this is like, doctrine or always been, or somehow you're not a true Christian or anything else, because in the early days, they just didn't know.
Yeah.
And then when they started saying, hey, it looks like there's a lot of layers here, people just said, okay. And they went right about going to church and everything else. So,
well, I think with the advent of the scientific method, they then realized that as science started being able to explain more and more things about the natural world, they realized that, hey, our stuff doesn't fit into that. If you take this scientific method and apply it to what we're claiming, you don't get anywhere. But before that, I don't think people tried to read the Bible literally. It wasn't. There was more of it taken literally than is today, of course, by most Christians. But I don't think that, in the early days they were looking to hang on every word of it like Ken Ham and say, well, if it says that, then it must be literally mean 7 days. I don't think they thought that.
Yeah, when Walter Kaiser was debating Ken Ham, who is a Christian Jewish scholar, he told Ken Ham, you don't understand Hebrew. Okay, it's the way it was written is not the way he's reading it.
Right.
Hey, hello, Ollie. Good to see you.
You have to understand that conspiracy theories are judged by their own informational content, the actual claims that those theories make, not by how many people hold to them. And this is obviously how ideas in science make progress over time, right? When a scientist says, no, the current scientific precedent and theories are wrong, I have a new idea that actually works better, they're not a conspiracy theorist. Rather, they are simply presenting an alternative idea. And I think that is very much the case with creationism.
I don't think so.
There's very few examples throughout history where science has just given up whole ideas and said, no, this is all completely wrong. We have this new idea. Whereas usually it works like this. We thought this about this thing, but with further study, we've refined that idea and understand it better. Now, when they get things wrong, that's a great thing because we learned something from it. But it's not like science is just out there with people saying, oh, nope, that's wrong. We got to come up with a new idea of how the world works. That's never been the case.
Hello, Maya. Yes, this is Peter. Maya must have seen Peter around before. And the other problem is that the creationists may be arguing, but they're not presenting good evidence in the form of scientific papers. Okay. Jay Bundy recently had a debate with Michael Behe. And again, he brought up over and over, well, I got all these books and books and books. And he told him, well, I don't care about books. Anybody can write a book. What you want to submit is your findings to other scientists, and let's see if it works. This is where creationists are lacking. They write lots of books. They make a lot of videos. They have a lot of debates on YouTube where they call all the scientists dummies. But they're a little lacking on scientific papers.
Information.
So I think there is a little spot that he's skipping over, is that sure, anybody can have an idea, and maybe you're right? Maybe you're sitting in your bathtub relaxing, and something comes to your mind, and you've got a new invention or whatever. Hey, good for you. Okay. But you still have to submit it somehow. You can't just rely on, hey, I had this great idea last night. Got to have something to back it up. So I think he's playing a little bit in the middle there.
Creationism is not alleging a conspiracy theory. Rather, it is presenting an alternative explanation for the data. So going back to our definition.
And this is classic Ken Ham. I mention Ken Ham a lot because that's my nemesis. I know him well, but I know the other creationist organizations repeat a lot of the same things. And no, Peter.
Well, also, no creationist that I'm aware of says that maybe it's this way. They say, no, it's this way. This is what the Bible says. This is the way it is. And also, like, alternative explanation for the data. If you tell me 1 + 1 is 4 and that 4 is an alternative explanation for the data, it is, but it's wrong. And that's the problem. And when scientists have reviewed the claims of young earth creationists, they're wrong. The claims are wrong. And it's the same problem.
That's why it's not in the textbooks, it's not in the classrooms. For the same reason as, you've heard many times, they teach astronomy, not astrology, right? They teach chemistry, not alchemy, okay? And science has pretty much put young earth creationism into a supernatural belief like all these other things, not science, and doesn't belong in the science classroom or in the textbooks, because as Joe said, you got to back it up with some evidence, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to give you a buzz on that one.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have a sound effect, so I'll do it myself.
Definition of a conspiracy theory, let's think about the essential parts of that definition and whether or not we can use them to diagnose creationism as a conspiracy theory. So first of all, let's begin with this idea of a secret plan or a plot. For creationism, this would have to be some sort of secret plan to intentionally mislead the public.
Well, see,
Pretty much what they do.
Yeah, some of them do, I agree. But the thing is what he's putting forward, it isn't that young earth creationism is the conspiracy here. The way that he's saying this, science is the conspiracy. And that there's a conspiracy to give people false conclusions based on science.
I think
He's
he is
fundamentally
gonna.
flawed in the way he's asking it.
I think he is gonna try to steal man a little bit here.
Okay.
But I just did a video on Answers in Genesis. Ken Ham has a new book out targeted to children talking about the climate. Now, they gave citations, which they don't always do. So I looked up the citations they gave.
How'd that go?
And what I read did not read what they said that it said for some reason. In fact, it was the total opposite. Everything they said was wrong. And I know they were at least looking at the papers they cited because they mentioned some things that were in the papers. They left out almost all of it that said, yes, there's extreme weather events. Yes, they are more extreme than before. So, well, there's always been this, that, and everything. Yes, but the tornadoes, the hurricanes, the floods, the snowstorms, the rainstorms, everything else are getting worse, if you haven't noticed. So how they can cite a paper and then say, no, this paper says there's no extreme events when there's a bar graph on it that's just going up, 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 up. You're being dishonest. So I will have to say, and I'm sure a lot of us know that if you reviewed any of these videos and they've given you a source and you looked it up, what happened, Joe?
Yeah, it's never what it says. It's never what they say it is. Ever.
They are dishonest.
100%.
So another on this one, they are dishonest, Peter. And we can point out many cases.
Evolutionary scientists would have to know that creationism is true, but want to deceive the public.
Right. So here we go with the scientists are just trying to trick you out of believing in creation.
Yeah.
By misrepresenting data, by altering or changing fossils, manipulating them. And this would have to, this idea would have to see evolutionary scientists as fundamentally dishonest. These people are out there simply to push their own agenda and deceive people.
So a conspiracy.
And now let's go back to a small group, right? You're talking about scientists around the globe. Many of them have never met each other, never talked to each other, and especially until recently where you could just, email and everything. It was a lot more difficult to just, chat with scientists around the world. And yet they were reaching the same conclusions. That's a lot of scientists around the globe through different countries and cultures. That gets to be a big stretch for a conspiracy theory. And like I always say, they sure messed up when they gave us the internet. If the scientists are trying to keep us from talking about these things, giving us the internet had to be the biggest blunder by the biggest conspiracy organization ever.
God created the internet, Dave.
Oh, well.
God and Al Gore.
But we're going way off the definition, I think, when you start talking about, and like we say, science is built on the shoulders of giants, right? It's not just citing Richard Dawkins or somebody and finding somewhere where he said something wrong or stupid or anything and saying, well, see, look, all the scientists are wrong. This information has been built on for thousands of years. From the early scientists, it's built and built and built and built, and there's a huge body of knowledge. So, okay, Richard Dawkins is wrong. It doesn't matter, right? You can scratch him out. It doesn't matter. Darwin was wrong. Okay, fine. Scratch him out. It doesn't matter. The body of science and the body of evidence, with or without them, or since then, have grown exponentially. So it doesn't matter.
And let's point out the important thing here. Even if we throw science out the window, it still doesn't do anything for his narrative.
And what would be the point?
Yeah.
What would be the point of deceiving everybody? You know, when, let's be honest, a lot of these scientists put in a lot of hard work for not a lot of money because they're curious, and you know Grayson and Doc just went out, you know, looking for dino fossils, right? Because you want to do that, right? And there's not a lot of money in doing it, you know. And how many people get famous for finding a fossil or something, right? Can you name people that have found fossils, Joe? You know what I mean?
I mean,
not really front page news or anything.
Not,
you know?
not people that are famous for it, but.
So you know, you're going to get rich and famous or something for making a fake dinosaur fossil, maybe in a sideshow or the P.T. Barnum days and the different circuses and stuff. But nowadays, yeah, you're not gonna be able to sell tickets to see a Fiji mermaid or something, right? It just, those days have gone. So.
And that idea is wrong. I've talked with many different evolutionary scientists, and when I talk with them, I don't see someone who is fundamentally dishonest, who is simply working to disprove creationism. In fact, many of them aren't even familiar with the modern theory of creationism or the fact that it even has modern proponents at all.
Almost like they just don't really care.
Well, they're not familiar with it because why would they be? There's a body of facts that explains the world, and creationism doesn't fit into that anywhere. So why would they be aware? Yeah.
They're not aware because, as we mentioned earlier, where's the papers, right? Maybe if they were coming across the papers, they would say, oh yeah, I came across that paper from the Young Earth Creationist, and we're reviewing it and we're testing it. Or no, that's why they are unaware of anything, because you don't submit anything. Sumami and Purple and Ember have joined us. Hello, everybody. So, yeah, I had higher hopes for you, Peter. Maybe he'll rebound here. We're halfway through, so the second half maybe will be better. Sometimes the second half is better. I'm a football fan, so you never know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here we go with the second half. See if it gets a little bit better.
Instead, what I see is people who are interested in studying nature, very much like myself. People who have a desire to understand the intricacies of the natural world. So I don't see these scientists who are trying to mislead people. I see people who are passionate about doing good work and are passionate about communicating their ideas to the public. So I think, first of all,
well,
he just thinks they're all wrong.
Well, and right to the public again, I don't really think that scientists care about what the public thinks. Right? They care about what their peers think, right? They want to know if their peers are accepting or rejecting their papers, right? They care about who is citing their papers, because two successes of a scientist, and I'm not talking about scientists that work in many fields, you know, not all scientists are doing research and all, you know, I'm talking about, you know, scientists that do research. The signs of a success are the papers you have written and how many of your peers cite your papers. That's what we're looking for, Peter. What do you think, Joe? Is that what you're looking for?
Well, I mean, that I'm not a scientist per se, but yeah, they.
And then you want to hear about it, right?
Right.
We don't want to hear. Yeah.
I want to hear about the scientific consensus, not what somebody dreamed up to make the world fit their favorite book.
You can make like Peter making his video. You know, you can make the video. It doesn't matter to the scientists. Okay,
Right.
we need the scientists to get a paper from you, and I'm talking creationists or anybody. If you've got an idea, do it through the scientific method, through the peer review, submit it to a journal, do it the way it's supposed to be done, and maybe then the scientists will know. And he also mentioned the creation model. Okay, I'm not aware of a creation model. Everyone that has a supposed model is different. And any of us that follow the different creationists will know that. If you go from Ham to Hovind, they don't agree. So I don't know how you can have a agreeable model when they don't agree. And if you notice, they really don't talk about each other because they have some big differences. Okay.
That this idea is fundamentally wrong. Now, that's not to say that there aren't any creationists who advocate for this theory. There are some. Some creationists do believe that evolutionary scientists are committing frauds all the time, that evolutionary scientists know creationism is correct, is true, and that they are trying to deceive people. There is simply no evidence that there is any widespread attempt by the evolutionists to do this. There simply is none. There's no evidence of widespread fraud in support of evolutionary theory. The only real basis that this idea has is the fact that every person on Earth is biased. I have a bias based on how I was brought up, my reading of the Bible, the ideas, the ideologies that I hold to. Evolutionists have bias too. And because of our biases, we all tend to ask a little bit of different questions about the world. We're interested in different aspects of science, and that leads us to come up with different theories, that leads us to invest.
Okay, right there, different theories. Okay, in science, a theory is not just Peter having an idea out here, having a nice day out in
You don't
nature.
come up with
looks
theory.
like a nice spot he has there. I do like it, but yeah, that's just because you're having your ideas is not the same as a scientific theory, Peter. Just to
Yeah.
be clear.
I want to point to what Ember says in the chat. He does understand that the entire point of science is to eliminate your own bias. That's why the scientific method is what it is, because it allows you to look at the facts and the body of evidence rather than put your biases in front of that. Biases, sorry. And we don't come up with theories. Theories are corroborated and confirmed. That's not how any of it works. And also, let me just say, I think actually what he's saying is worse than the narrative that the scientists are all lying to us. Because what he says is that they're so incompetent that they all got it wrong, that none of them know what they're talking about, that there's no fraud here, that they're all just so incompetent at their jobs that they've came up with this 99% consensus that the Earth is older than 6,000 years old, and they're all wrong about it.
And somebody said, howdy, Dave, you might have more to engage with if you check better channels, such as Is Genesis History and Answers in Genesis. I just did a video about Answers in Genesis, and yeah, I do engage with them.
I don't think those are any better, though.
Yeah, Peter here, it caught my eye because I've seen Peter around before, and Peter does refute some young Earth creationist arguments that he thinks are not good arguments. So, I kind of spotted Peter here, and he was asking for feedback, so we're giving him some feedback. But,
honestly, Dave, I think that Peter here actually has been more genuine and clear than anything that comes on AIG. Honestly, I mean,
he seems like a good guy. We're not trying to knock the guy. I told Joe before we started, he seems like a good guy, and he is pursuing some kind of higher education, biology, anthropology. I don't remember exactly, but so we're giving him the all the benefit of the doubt we can. And yeah, we just wanted to respond because I thought it would be a better response than just the few things that I left in the comment on the video.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate the input. And yeah, check my channel. I do engage with other creationists. I have quite a few videos from on CMI and Answers in Genesis. And Joe and I have talked about Answers in Genesis
Numerous times.
We also come across, you know, a little bit smaller channels, although I think Peter's probably bigger than both of us. We took on the Horseshoe Crab Challenge, right? It came across, and it was just one of those, you know, sometimes a video just catches your eye and you just want to address it. It doesn't really matter who it's from. But yeah, please check out our videos and Joe's too. We have quite a few about Answers in Genesis. No worries there, right, Joe?
Right. We've said plenty about Ken Ham, both separately and together.
And I've had Dan Phelps on my channel, who's a big thorn in Ken Ham's side. He's the one that releases the attendance numbers. He's the one that's always looking to, you know, what they're doing with the tax business and all that stuff behind the scenes. I've had him on my channel 2 or 3 times now talking with him. So,
I spent a big chunk of yesterday's show talking about AIG.
Yeah, and Joe was just talking to another AIG nemesis yesterday. So yeah, check that out too. We're on them. We're on them.
Yeah.
Investigate different fields of research. But the fact that we all have biases is something that is ingrained. Yes, we can determine our biases, but someone having biases does not make them dishonest. Evolutionary scientists are not deceptive simply because they have this bias against the existence of a creator in a young Earth.
Okay, now we're hey BS,
Wrong.
how you doing?
I'll do it this time.
Okay, you got the ant. Okay, good job. Yeah, now first of all, as we said before, most religious people, even Islam, at 51%, slim majority, but you're talking about many of these countries with very little education, or it's very repressive education, okay, accept well-established science, like the age of the earth, evolution, the speed of light, all these kind of things.
It's worse than that, though. He says that's not why. It's their biases that make them not accept this, and that's not it. They never even put that hypothesis forward because it doesn't fit the evidence. It doesn't explain anything to say God did it. So they're looking for explanations of how the world around us works to describe the world around us, not how to make it say that God did it. The only way that you get to God did it is from one source, and that's the Bible, and that's not where they're looking for their facts at.
And that applies to other religions and other cultures, like we said earlier. Scientists have come to similar conclusions around the globe, independent from each other. That's good science, you know. When
yeah,
totally different belief systems, totally different gods, everything, but you can still come to the same conclusion from whatever idea you had, and you tested and repeated, and you made whatever with it. So did somebody else.
Sorry, I didn't mean
to.
Go
ahead. You're all right. Go ahead.
Inserting a creator isn't only biased, though. It's worse than that, because then it's fallacious also. Like, you're not just operating on a bias at that point. You're trying to post hoc rationalize your way back into explaining how the world works, starting with the conclusion that a creator did it. And science will never work that way. That's not how science ever works. So that's
I often say it seems unnecessary. If you can explain, you know, why a volcano erupts, adding God to it, God did it to it, doesn't add anything to it, right? You already know it's because of the, the crack in the earth and the pressure, and it has to be released once in a while, and it comes up, you have a volcano. All right. They go out, they study it, they understand, they do the mapping underground, they know where the big chambers are, and you know where the hot spots are in the world, the ring of fire and all that. And we know why, not everything, but pretty much understand them. So to add that it's God's wrath or whatever because the volcano's going off doesn't really add anything to the explanation. It's already got a good explanation.
Now, they are biased, and that will lead them to interpret things in a different way than a creation scientist will. But there is nothing that is necessarily dishonest or deceptive about that. It is simply the natural result of beginning with a different worldview.
No.
Beginning without a worldview.
That's why we have peer review, scientific method, is because even if you are biased and you come from a different culture with a different religion and everything else, if you can come from the other side of the world and mix two chemicals together and get the same reaction or new molecule or whatever you're aiming for, and soak in somebody else repeatedly, and it makes a great new whatever, right? A new lubrication, a new type of steel or whatever, that's fine. It doesn't matter who does it. It doesn't matter what you believe. It only matters that it can be repeated, and maybe it does the world some good. That's always nice when the outcome helps everybody else out at the same time.
The scientific method is specifically made to exclude your worldviews. That's it. That's why
as
works.
best as we can. Again, it's not perfect. It's not
No,
perfect.
it's not perfect.
Things slip through. Sometimes creationists will point out, oh, it took them 40 years to figure out this skull was a fraud. And it's like, well, yeah, they got lots of skulls to go through. And, it took a while to find ones that weren't legitimate,
Had to compare it to something else, right?
Yeah, but I have to point out, if anybody is claiming dishonesty, it's creationist organizations. Ken Ham has a book called The Lie. All right? He's directing that at scientists. That's who he's directing it at. Manipulating fossils. Again, at AIG, because I know it well. I'm sure we could look and find other organizations do the same thing. AIG has a manipulated Lucy display. They have their Lucy as a knuckle walker, right? That's dishonest with the fossils, right? So who's intentionally being dishonest with fossils has to be the creationists. Now, they'll point out, well, they had the wrong bone in a dinosaur or, something, and they fixed it later. And it's like, well, right.
Read Logan's comment.
But like Joe said, you're not willing to change. Is that a belt buckle, or is he just happy to explain creationism?
And look at the picture.
I'm looking not too intently.
Oh boy. Thanks, Logan. I needed that.
And I forgot my place. Thanks a lot.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. We'll move on here and we'll get past
lying about fossils.
Oh yeah, lying about yeah. So I would say that any mistakes that science made about any fossils, they get corrected. And meanwhile, creationists are intentionally manipulating fossils that we already have gone through, many people recreating them and checked over and over and over again. And they are the ones changing them.
Here's the beauty of science, though, is if you think something's wrong and you can show that it's wrong, they will happily correct that. Whereas
Mhm.
with the creationist narrative, they have a book that says they already have all the answers. So when you find something wrong, they have to find a way to reconcile that. And the problem with all of this is that science has a mechanism that works to do that through peer review and scientific consensus. Creationism does not, and that's where it fails the hardest, and that's very, very telling. And if what I just said doesn't make a lot of sense, or you don't think that's as important as I'm making it out to be, think about it for a little bit, because it's one of the most important points of why we know they're full of shit.
Now, these creationists sometimes will bring up Bible passages that refer to the willful ignorance of unbelievers.
A lot. Sometimes, no, a lot. That is one of the favorite ones, is that they are willfully ignorant. It's burned in my brain. Yeah, they say it. They say it a lot. Another buzzer. Sorry there, Peter.
Yeah.
And imply that these passages mean that evolutionists are willfully ignorant of the fact that the Earth is 6,000 years old.
Again, Ken Ham has a book called The Lie. He is calling them liars.
Or the fact that there are created kinds. But if we look at the context of these passages, they're really talking about judgment. People are willfully ignorant that people in the past were judged for their sin via flood, and they're also ignorant of the fact that in the future there will be a judgment for people who do not believe as well. So this is a much more general statement about people not wanting to believe that God will judge them for their sin, and not a specific statement about how exactly people believe about what people believe about the age of the earth, or something like that. Now the Bible.
Well, I saw a comment from B. Again, we just mentioned, you may have missed it, we challenge a lot of people. And Peter is a young man, but he's not a child.
The Bible teaches this idea that we term general revelation, this idea that by looking at the natural world and its beauties and intricacies, everyone can come to the conclusion independently that there must have been a creator. But as the name implies,
Negative.
And again, though, a belief does not mean anything. That's the separation of what we can prove, what science works with in the natural world, versus beliefs that are supernatural that cannot be tested. They're in a belief category. And
Creationists don't even do that, though. They don't even believe what he just said, because they don't look at a tree and say, well, God must have did it. And when you say, well, we can't really say that God did it, there's no reason to, whatever argument you want to give about that, I'm not saying that it's an argument. What I'm getting at is that they don't then pivot and say, well, it obviously had to be created by somebody. They don't. That's not the answer. It's because they have a book that says who did it, and they have to stick to that narrative. He doesn't even believe what he's saying is true right now.
And Ember, yeah, that was my impression as I went through, and I was just going to point out that he's not really making a great argument for a conspiracy theory or not being a conspiracy theory. He goes off into his little creationist arguments, and he's trying to mix it all up, but
he's doing everything but saying that science is a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, he's trying to say that, oh no, we're not calling all the science, and he may not be calling the scientists liars. Again, he seems like a nice guy. He said, I'm not calling them liars, but Ken Ham does, Hovind does, Discovery Institute does. They are doing that, okay? So Peter may have however many viewers, but you don't have as many as all those other ones combined, put together. Nor their materials they put out, their videos, the talks, the going to churches. A lot of these, they send people out into even small churches. They're going around spreading this around, spreading this around. Aaron Ra just had a new series out on this one guy. He's an old timer and he's back at it. He's circulating in the churches, repeating the same old disinformation. So we can point out a lot of the things that Peter is trying real hard to give the benefit of the doubt amongst his peers, but maybe he needs to look a little better into what into what his peers are actually saying, because they're calling scientists liars. They are.
Yeah.
Applies. This is a general conclusion. It's not really specific to the Christian God or the method of creation or the date at which creation happened. It's simply a general statement about whether or not the world was created. And so I think it's kind of incorrect to apply those passages in this instance as well.
But that's not true though, because where else is he getting that the earth is young? What other source does he have for young earth other than my book says that it's true and I'm trying to find ways to confirm that? I was in his shoes at one time. Whenever I first started learning that the things that I had been taught were false, I was looking for ways to confirm that they were true. And what I found is the only way I could find those is the next paragraph over in the same exact book. And when you start looking for more sources, you would never come to the conclusion that there is a creator other than just dreaming it up out of nowhere, or B, that the earth is 6,000 years old. He gets both of these things from the religion that he practices, and he's not willing to consider anything else. And this is why earlier, whenever I was talking about post hoc rationalization, which Robin pointed out is my favorite word or term, it's a perfect example of what he's doing there. Give me anything, any bit of evidence absent the Bible that would point you in the direction of a creator that created the earth 6,000 years ago, because there isn't one. It's the only source for that doctrine. Maybe other religions also, I guess, but
yeah, there are some Muslim apologists that hold to the 6,000,
right? But that's still the same source, because if any of the Abrahamic religions are true, then Judaism has to be true,
right?
And Judaism is the one that originally makes that claim,
right? And like we said earlier when we started, mostly though, young Earth creationism is a thing of the last 5 decades or whatever or so.
Yeah.
It hasn't always been as they like to believe and equate it with, a little bit he's doing is that it's Christianity, and there is.
I don't think he's intentionally doing it.
Well, that's his understanding, because like he said,
yeah.
he's getting the stuff from the Bible, but he's also getting it from whatever preacher or his parents that are creationist materials. So these are additions to the Bible. You're not just getting it from the Bible, because again, most Christians don't accept these things. They believe in God and Jesus and everything, but the rest they leave to science. It's the creationists that go beyond that, and they are a minority. So we don't want to equate it with all Christians or all religious people. These are always a minority among the religions. Famously, hello Tux, good to see you. One of my favorites is Pat Robertson, who isn't around anymore, but I'm sure a lot of you remember who Pat Robertson was. Yeah, he's sorely missed. He had the 700 Club and everything, big Christian thing, big name, right? he spoke of Ken Ham, and he said, "You're making us Christians look silly." So, there is well understood, even among the evangelicals, making all that money and everything else, that some of the stuff the creationists say makes their Christian belief look silly. And that's what they said. William Lane Craig is a famous apologist. He thinks that basically young earth creation is silly. It's bucking up against all of science. And he will still keep his beliefs. He's still a big apologist. And he puts in, well, okay, the earth is so old and humans are so old, but somewhere along the way, maybe Adam and Eve were the first two spiritual people, the first two religious people, whatever, okay? And again, the big names saying, no, I can't go with the young earth creationist stuff, because it does. It refutes every field of science. And some of these people want to be taken seriously, right? What William Lane Craig wants to be taken seriously, and he doesn't want to throw in dinosaurs on Noah's Ark because he thinks that's silly.
Well, you hit on a big thing that is what part of Peter's problem is here, is that it's not just that these geologists that look at fossils are wrong about things. It's that every branch of science has to be wrong, even though it's supported by all kinds of evidence. But his book is right, which is supported by nothing other than a handful of people saying so. And so he says that he doesn't think they're dishonest, and he doesn't think it's a conspiracy. But again, he thinks that every branch of science is wrong. Meteorology, geology, astrology is even wrong. Biology, psychology. I mean, picanology, it's wrong because his book says something different. And so if he's not putting forth that it's a conspiracy and that they're lying, then he's saying they're all incompetent again, and which doesn't really make sense once you're getting into that broad of a group that you're saying all of these independent sciences are wrong and all the consensus is wrong and everything we see is wrong. But I've got the answer right here in this book written by illiterate people, or written of the stories of illiterate people from thousands of years ago. I mean, it's just not, it doesn't hold.
And I credit with where it's due that some of the old religions, it was kind of an early attempt at science. They were trying to explain things. But as Joe said, though, as you learn new things, that changes. So if you thought trees came from rocks, and then you figured out, oh no, they come from seeds, or they come from tubers, or whatever, however they reproduce, then you say, oh, okay, well, obviously the tree didn't come from a rock. You don't stay stuck on what was incorrect. And no one can challenge SFT and Hovind. Everybody can.
I don't know why they keep saying that.
Hovind's been at it for how many decades? Where's his stuff in a textbook? Nowhere. That's all you need to know.
And actually, we are still challenging those same people here because he's saying the exact same stuff, only nicer.
Peter says it nicely. Yeah, that is for sure. But yeah, that's the question I put up to anybody over in Donnie's channel or anything. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Yeah, Donnie's making his money on his, his channel or whatever. Hey, whatever, it's all good, right?
Oh,
but you're not changing science. They're not.
Right. You stay tuned, BE, because there's plenty of addressing SFT and Hovind coming up in my near future. So you just stay tuned, BE. I'll be
Joe was out cruising.
I was out causing trouble this week.
All right, we're getting near the end here, and again, yeah, he's little commentary here. I think Ember agrees. Other thing, folks, I think agree too. Peter, little weak so far, so you need a strong finish here because we're just about to the end.
Because although we could make some claim about evolutionists being willingly ignorant of the fact that there is a God who is the ultimate cause of all things, I don't think we can say they are willingly ignorant of a young Earth. Then we come to the second aspect of a
I gotta listen to that again.
Yeah.
evolutionists being willing. It's simply a general statement about whether or not the world was created. And so I think it's kind of incorrect to apply those passages in this instance as well. Because although we could make some claim about evolutionists being willingly ignorant of the fact that there is a God who is the ultimate cause of all things, I don't think we can say they are willingly ignorant of a young Earth.
So there is a conspiracy. It's against God, not young Earth.
They can't be willingly ignorant of a young Earth. Isn't he saying the Earth is not young?
No, he's saying scientists. He's saying while we can't say that scientists are not being willingly ignorant about God, we don't say the same about the young Earth. That it's not willful ignorance; it's a misinterpretation of the data. But they are being willingly angry. The word about God. They're being ignorant about God on purpose.
Yeah, they're denying God. Well, once again, most of the people on this planet are religious. So if you just go by the odds, most scientists are religious. Now you get into certain fields where you'll find more non-believers and everything, but generally speaking, lots of religious people are scientists. It's not a good argument to say scientists are being willingly ignorant of God or denying God's existence when many of them do science all week long, and on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, whatever day it is, they go to church or temple or wherever they're going, they're there.
My guess is,
well, I just want to say one of my first video, the second video I ever did on my channel, go check it out. I was talking with Adam, who was working at the university in the Holy Land, in Israel. He's in a safer part of the country, at least at the time, but relatively calm, or however you want to word it. But I asked him directly, are they talking about religion when they're in the lab? And he said, no. And he's working with, people in the Holy Land. A lot of these people are very religious. They go to the university in Israel, okay? And they were working on, I think, something nuclear or something. So you know what they're talking about all day? Nuclear physics.
Yeah.
That's what they're talking about, okay? It doesn't matter, and they can be different faiths, because there's different faiths there. It doesn't matter. What matters is getting the nuclear physics right for whatever they're trying to do.
I'm just guessing here, Dave. I don't know because he hasn't said this, but what I get from that is that he's one of the creationists or theists that think that atheists don't actually exist. That's why they're that's why they're ignorant about God, is because they're choosing to be. Not because they don't actually believe.
Yeah, that's
my guess, just because of the other things he said, but he didn't outright say that, so I won't go any further than that with it.
And Mark Reed stopping through. Hello, Mark.
What's up, Mark Reed?
Let's say it'd be good morning, Mark.
The man, the legend, Mark Reed.
Then we come to the second aspect of a conspiracy theory, namely the actual conspirators. Conspiracy theories are generally about subjects so obvious or widespread or naturally believed that they require very powerful people to actually enforce. So, for example...
Okay.
Isn't that the pot calling the kettle a Christian? The
Yeah, that's
so here's the thing. How has Christianity been used over the ages that it's been around? It was used by the rich and the powerful to control the peasants, right? Um, for the longest time, your ordinary person wasn't allowed to even read the Bible out loud. And then whenever they first started converting it into English, it was a crime, and they were sentencing people to the end for it. And I mean, so if he wants to make that statement, which I don't think it's true anyway, but if he wants to make that statement, let's compare and contrast the two, and see who's done what as far as that goes.
I think he's doing a pretty good job at proving that YEC is a conspiracy theory. Even though I would, I wouldn't, I didn't ever really think of it that way. I always thought of it more as it's a religious belief taken to extremes by a few, like the creationist organizations, because, like a lot of other things out there, we talk about it with channels like my buddy Jim Bob. Some people, they're just into all this stuff. They want to deny. They think they know better than everybody else, better than the government, better than the scientists, better than NASA, better than Einstein, right? They deny, the theory of relativity and things. Okay.
Well, what is this?
And then they high five each other, and they open their wallets and they say, "Hey, here's some money." Well, there is a thing where Hovind and the rest. I mean, look at Hovind. If he needs something, he sticks his hand out, and people go, "Here you go." So, it's what do you want the guy to do when it's that easy? He doesn't even try hard. I mean, let's be serious, okay? His video quality is horrible, right? He holds a lapel mic, okay? That's his sound system, right?
Let's not talk about people with bad video quality, okay, Dave?
But I'm talking about, but are you bringing in the money he's bringing in? No, you're not, right? So there's a lot of money, and he doesn't spend more than $20 on a lapel microphone, right? And other organizations, I'm just saying that they do. Ken Ham, part of that Toyota building that he bought, is going to be a media department. They're going to have their own, high quality television camera quality stuff, big, those big, huge soundboards you see, that 50 rows of buttons all on them. And, they're going to have the real deal to make their stuff.
Yeah. Let me give an example, though, that's off topic, but relevant. What do you think whenever Donald Trump goes and makes outlandish claims and things about, pick something, I guess, anything he talks about? When he
electric cars.
Fine. Windmills. Whenever he goes and says these things, what do you think the number one thing he depends on for people to believe the things he's saying is true? Ignorance.
It's always about the same 25-30% of the population that believes all the same things, including young earth creationism. It seems they're all in the same circles. If you're denying medical advice, we won't talk about it. Everybody knows what the big ugly medical advice was a few years ago. If you're denying the climate, if you're if you're denying gender spectrum, I mean, it just happened 2 years ago or something. Where have you been? This is nothing new in history. Open a dang history book, right? And all the while you're just trying to tell them, to point out, you need a better education. You need to open a book. And what are they trying to do? Get rid of the books. There's the solution, right? If you don't like what's in the book, get rid of the books.
I think all those things are true, but the point I was trying to make here is that these same things rely on you not actually checking to see if what they're saying is true. because just like you said, and like I've said 1,000 times, every time we go to look at their sources and see if, if it's held up by anything of substance, we find that not only is it not true, but they lied about the sources, or the sources don't say what they said they did anyway. And so it comes down to, they know that it's easier, that if you believe this one thing, to just accept everything else they say because they're right about this other thing. And that's the same thing that Trump does. And I'm not trying to make the connection, although there may be one, but I'm just saying, like, it's the same deal. It relies on people not checking or not caring enough or believing enough of it to buy the rest of it. You hear people, the old term, they bought the farm, right? Which means I saw one thing I liked and I bought everything that came with it because I thought it was what I wanted,
That's why him and Elon make such a good pair, because
oh, sure.
They both have now people will say, oh, but they're rich, and it's like, I don't care. They think like 5-year-olds, right? I point out Trump's idea to stop forest fires in California was to flood California. Now, if a toddler said, well, we can solve the forest fires if you just flood it out, you would think, hey, good thinking, right? You get it all. Of course, they aren't thinking about, millions of people in cities, flooded out, but right. But this is a grown adult saying, let's just flood the state, right? Like, that's even possible. And even if it was, forget everybody and just put out,
Yeah.
And then you got Elon, right? I'm going to put people in tubes and fire them around the world at 700 miles an hour, right? Well, again, I watch Futurama, right? They shoot people around in tubes, right? But you can't really do that, But people are so dedicated to them. They see them like, like a deity type thing or something,
The chat is pointing out that my metaphor was incorrect. Sorry, guys. My bad. You know what I meant, though. Sorry.
Yeah, but there is this thing, they have this cultish mentality around them. And like I said, and both of them just say infantile things, again, with the Elon thing, he wanted to launch rockets from cities, like airplanes. Like every hour you get on a rocket and rocket to another city. And it's just like, it's a neat idea in, cartoons or something. But first of all, you can't put ordinary people on rockets. Okay. Right. I mean, you're going to have a lot of people passed out, right? It's just,
here's the difference in me and him being wrong, though. He's wrong and completely oblivious to it because he wants to believe something. I'm wrong, and purple rhymes with orange in the chat just taught me a fact about what bought the farm means. So now I know not to make that. Can I say the whole enchilada? Is that better? Just because you like rice, you get the whole enchilada?
Well, and like Behe mentions, SFT and Hovind and all that, there's people that think Hovind is just all that. You know what I mean? He's this super genius that has it all figured out. And how much money do you need? Right? That's the thing. It's like, it just seems too easy, to say ridiculous things. I mean, completely ridiculous things, and make a lot of money and have a lot of people think you're all that, I don't know. I haven't figured it out. If somebody's figured it out, let me know. But and we kid around,
well, that's the thing.
If Joe or I right now, we decided to say, hey, I just found Jesus, hallelujah, this and that, changing my name of my channel to Jesus Loves Me, stick out my hand and smile, right? I'll have 2 million subs and be rolling in the dough, right? It just seems that easy, and everything else. that thing that they're selling to hydrogenate your water, because you need more hydrogen in your water. And people buy these things to put hydrogen in their water.
My favorite is ozone, when the like Himalayan salt lamps and stuff. I like that.
It just seems too easy if you don't have, some kind of a conscience, And sadly, Peter here again, I don't think he's not a smart guy. He does seem to be going to school or whatever. I've seen him talk before. He knows a lot of things, a lot about what he's talking about. But then he throws back in. He throws back in such nonsense, though, right back into it. And then I'm sorry, it's really hard to take you seriously when you're trying to talk serious about science or anything, and then you say, oh, but it all happened in the last 6,000 years, 4,000 years since the flood. I'm sorry.
I think that Peter isn't a bad person, or that I don't know that he's a bad person anyway. He might be. But what I get from Peter is that he needs to sit down and have a couple conversations with people who don't agree with his current position, and do it with an open mind that he may be wrong. But there's a problem with that, though, still, because that goes against his book that tells him what to do. But I would love to sit down with Peter and talk about these things, but I imagine he's probably not really game for it. But
you could try. I've seen him on other streams or debates, whatever they were called. I've seen him around. Like, I know him from Bread of Life's channel, so
yeah.
I know B.S. Lewis and some of you out there may have seen him over there. I think that's where I first saw him.
Yeah. And, doesn't seem like a bad guy.
No, like I said, he was refuting some bad YEC arguments, and my ears perk up, and I'm like, oh, maybe there's hope for this kid that he won't grow up to have a
I think there's hope for everybody.
A Hawaiian shirt.
Even him.
I don't know.
You have to want it, though. You have to want to you have to want to understand factually how the world works, though. Instead of
what would Hovind or Ken Ham or any of them do now? You know what I mean? I mean, they're so deep and so many years into it. What are they going to throw their hands in the air and say, "Oh, I was wrong"? I don't see it happening.
Yeah,
but we'll give it a teeny tiny little maybe.
Well, if we think of something like the moon landing, we have so much evidence for it that there has to be this huge cover-up, and because the cover-up needs to be so huge, there has to be some powerful people behind it. Well, the same would need to be true with any conspiracy theory that developed out of creationism. If all of these people are actually secret creationists who are simply lying about it, there would need to be some sort of central organizing body or association or individual who would be controlling how evolutionists do research and controlling what they teach. Now, this isn't to say there aren't any evolutionary organizations or guidelines about how to teach or how to present material to the public. Of course there are, but I'm saying there is.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think there's evolutionary organizations telling the public anything.
Yeah. The organization is called science.
Yeah. I mean, there's spokespeople out there like Bill Nye or Neil deGrasse Tyson, that go on TED Talks or CNN or whatever, and they call these people in when they need somebody that knows a little science or whatever. They're the spokespeople, but I mean, what's he talking about? Is there like commercials on his TV or something saying new from evolutionary biology, right?
Well, on one hand, he's saying it's not a conspiracy. I don't think it's a conspiracy, but it perfectly fits a conspiracy by definition. What?
He's not. Yeah, he's not making the argument. He's just saying.
He's saying one thing and making the argument for the opposite.
Yeah, kind of, but he's not out. But he's not. But then he'll say like, "But I don't think they're being dishonest." Well, part of the conspiracy theory would be that you think they're being dishonest, and he
I
already
think that's
said
the part he's trying to dance around. I think that's why he's doing this whole dance here.
he's too nice.
Because, well, he's trying not to call them liars.
Yeah.
He's trying to say they're wrong in any other way other than an organized lie. You know,
Yeah.
and okay.
Well, Peter, again, we're losing hope. I know when he started waving at the bugs like he just did is when he starts getting annoyed and wraps up his video. So,
the problem is though, even if he's correct, it is a conspiracy. Even if all of science is wrong about everything ever, it does nothing for his argument. Not a thing. And we have to keep that in mind because that's the important part. It's like, even so what? Like, you want to complain about evolution and how science is done? It doesn't do anything to make what you're claiming true at all. Doesn't even make it more likely.
No evidence that there is an organized worldwide plot to do this sort of thing. So I think that based on what we've talked about so far, it's pretty obvious that you can make creationism into a conspiracy theory.
Ta-da! He's saying it himself. You can make creationism into a conspiracy theory. And what's he going to say next?
I think it's kind of like getting to the right conclusion the wrong way.
No, I don't think it's getting to the right conclusion the wrong way.
No.
Again, these conclusions have come about, again, on the shoulders of giants, generations of scientists, and as Joe mentioned, religions had all the money. They had, and or those in power. And the kings, the queens, the princes, the princesses, the priests, the monks, these are the ones that had the funding to do science, to write books, to do all these things, to, be able to go dig around in the rocks, just looking for a fossil. I don't know, whatever they were doing.
Tsunami hit
everybody. Everyday people couldn't do these things, right? You had to tend to your farm and your livestock, and you had to churn the butter, and you had to make your own clothes. And, these people didn't have time to do these things. So once again, religious or the kings and the queens and the royalty, the money, all interconnected, and they're the ones that were doing all the early science. So it's based on, again, like we said, it doesn't matter what religion you are, it's based on the science. I think this is going to be his last word. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I'm not even cross my fingers. I think he's done and over with.
I think he was done when he started.
Right, so if you believe that evolutionists are out there lying and manipulating data to deceive people into thinking creationism is false, and you think that that is part of some organized plan, then congrats. That basically meets the definition of a conspiracy theory.
Ta-da! And who's doing this, as we're pointing out? Hovind and Ham and Discovery. This is exactly what they're doing. This is exactly what they're saying. And Peter says that makes you a conspiracy theory. So Behe, pass that along to Donnie and Hovind. The fellow creationist here says that they are in a conspiracy theory.
There it is.
But is he in one? Let's find out. Hello, John.
Hey, John.
Hello, Sydney. Hello, Sumami. Hello, Jester. A lot of people stopping by both channels. Hello, everyone. Good to see everybody.
I'm
Turn
helping
the
Dave
butter.
turn butter.
Let me turn the butter. Oh, that's all I
I get a
need.
lot done. I can churn
They
multiple butters.
They already memed me pretty good at Jim Knob's channel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Have your fun. It's all good. As we were talking earlier, and I said, I'm not gay, but $20 is $20.
sometimes I turn butter like this. You know,
unlike Jim Knob, I don't care. The jokes don't bother me. Joe
yeah.
too, the other day, that troll was trying to get you stirred up about gay stuff or whatever. It's like, we don't care. That doesn't bother us. It bothers you all when you say those things. It doesn't bother us. Okay, it doesn't.
That's ongoing. My comments are still going back and forth about that. Like, it's.
Oh, I was in a stream one day, and it was a pretty long one. I said, well, we need to wrap this up. I need some butt flow. And I heard about that for a few days too. I said, I needed some, what I meant was I needed some blood flow in my butt, but I said, I need some butt flow.
you gotta be serious when it's time to be serious, but you also gotta be able to laugh at yourself sometimes too. You know, like you gotta, you can't take yourself so serious all the time. And I'm guilty of doing that sometimes. I get upset with people and you know, whatever. But
Are you related to a strawberry? Yes. I am.
Yes.
All life. That's what Darwin saw, and that's why Darwin was an abolitionist, and he was disgusted by the slavery and stuff. It's because he saw all life as related.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that. And I don't view myself as a conspiracy theorist because of that. I don't think there is any organized plan, and I don't think that evolutionists are at large misrepresenting or faking data. I think that they are honestly approaching science. The mosquitoes are getting kind of bad out here in the woods. I keep swatting them away. So I think this is gonna have to wrap it up for me, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know down in the comment section below whether you think young Earth creationism is a conspiracy theory or not. Thanks so much for watching.
All right.
Yes.
I knew the mosquito.
Sometimes I churn Dave's butter over here.
Turn the other. Oh, we got to turn this way. It's hard to do that on a camera.
Yeah, you gotta get the mirror down.
Gotta get both of them going. Do. Peter perfectly described it at the end. He said, people that are doing these things, which they are doing, creationist organizations. Now, again, we can't say every individual out there. We can't say Peter and Bob and Susie and all of everybody, okay? But the creationist organizations are doing this. They are being dishonest. They are manipulating fossils. They are calling the scientists liars. They are saying there's some kind of conspiracy to trick everybody into not believing in God or Jesus or anything else. Everything he said, whether he knows it or not, creationist organizations do. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I think that Peter seems like a nice enough young man, but I think that he tried really hard to not to just dance around it, because at the end there he's like, I don't think they're lying. I don't think they're misrepresenting science. I mean,
Nope. Shake the screen around. Okay. While Joe gets unstuck, yeah, I agree. I think Peter is trying really hard to be nice. I do think that he's trying to say that he doesn't think he's in a conspiracy because he doesn't see creationist organizations doing the things that I think he is not seeing. Because I can point out, like I say, just with Ken Ham, he has a book called The Lie, okay? He's calling all the scientists liars. Ken Ham has a Lucy display as a knuckle walker, not as an upright bipedal early predecessor to us, okay? They are doing that. There is a conspiracy. I'm sorry, you hear it over and over that they just want to, oh, help me out here, Behe. What is it? They don't want to believe in their unrighteousness, I think is how the verse goes. We just don't want to believe because we want to misbehave and all these kind of things. You hear it all from them. They say it all the time. Everything that he said in this video, I've heard from a creationist organizations. Again, we're not talking about every individual. Creationist organizations say and do all the things that he said constitutes a conspiracy theory. Joe's back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I have very fast internet, so I don't know why that happened, but I'll look into it.
It happens sometimes. But yeah, I was just saying that I think that everything that Peter said is a conspiracy theory, in his opinion, about the creationist organizations. They are doing, but I think he's denying that they're doing it.
Right. Well, I mean, under the definition,
or he's counting every individual person out there, which is, well, everybody's got a different idea, but the organizations are dishonest.
Yeah, under the definition, he thinks it's true though. So, if he thinks that's true, then science must not be true. And if all these scientists have a consensus and all these many branches of science all over scientists are all coming to the same conclusion and they're all giving false conclusions, then to me, he still thinks it's a conspiracy theory. He's just playing semantics at this point. Like it's still, he thinks science is a conspiracy theory, whereas young earth creationism is a conspiracy theory sometimes, because it depends on, like, if we're talking about Ken Ham, definitely a conspiracy theory. Kent Hovind, a conspiracy theory. If we're talking about Behe in the chat, though, I think she probably believes that stuff's true. So not a conspiracy theory. There's some people that are in on it and some people that aren't, right? So
that's what I think Peter's doing. He's trying to say, well, I'm not calling everybody a liar. But that's like saying, well, I don't hate these certain people. My Bible does. You know what I mean? It's putting it off. I'm not calling you a liar, but, right? All the organizations I listen to, all the creationists, all the materials I look at are calling you a liar. But I'm not doing it. But you know what I mean? He's like, I'm repeating all this material, but I
just think you're dumb.
I'm not calling you a liar. Yeah. You need a helmet.
Yeah,
so
well, again,
but
Peter, if you're watching this, I would love to sit down and talk with you about some of this stuff. And I don't think that we were less than charitable in this video. I think that we were pretty kind, considering we could have been much bigger smartasses about the whole thing.
We try not to be angry atheists, right? Yeah. And when you try not to be an angry atheist, you're gonna smile and you're gonna have a few laughs along the way, okay? But we tried to give you the benefit of the doubt, and we tried to say that we don't think you're a bad guy or anything, and you do seem to have things right on a lot of things, but I don't think that when you look in the mirror that you're seeing the same thing we are, because you defined it. You said what would constitute it, and it pretty much added up to you proving young Earth creationism is a conspiracy theory, or as the courts have ruled and most of science says, it's a religious belief. It's not science.
No.
So you can claim that science, you can claim there's creationist scientists, you can claim that they write all these books, and Donnie has them on his channel and they've got it all figured out. And yet, decade after decade after decade, nothing they put out is being taught in science classrooms.
No.
And in fact,
I would rather make the argument that science shouldn't be, that the scientific method or science as a whole is ineffective, than to just go around saying that they're wrong about everything, to do with the age of the Earth and evolution and all that stuff. I mean, if you're going to make that claim, you're obviously saying that all these different branches of science are fundamentally flawed, or you're saying that it's a conspiracy. I mean, there's not a whole lot of choices there.
And I think on that end, though, I think we did rule out, there's no way science is a conspiracy. Now, yes, you could get a tobacco company that hires their own scientists or something. You can always find exceptions. The asbestos factory found some scientists that say it's good for you, right? But that doesn't change the science.
Discovery Institute.
Discovery Institute. If you want to know about each and every person that works at the Discovery Institute, Professor Dave has done videos on, I think, every last one of them. You can learn all about everybody at the Discovery Institute over there on Professor Dave's channel.
Yeah, Dave does a good job covering those guys.
They are dishonest. They are dishonest. And as we can't say it again about everybody, but most of these people are educated well enough to know better.
Yeah.
So they're being dishonest. It's hard to give them the benefit of the doubt. If it's me without the higher education, well, I could be wrong, right? The person has a degree in the field. They had to have learned these things. Even if they dismissed it, they had to have learned it. So to say the exact opposite has to be dishonest. With Peter here, we're not going to call him dishonest. We're just going to say he needs to take his own advice at what he gave at the beginning, take everything he said, and reflect it back upon himself and see what he comes up with. What do you say, Joe? Anything in closing here?
I think that, again, instead of going and having conversations within your own echo chamber, look for mechanisms and methods that actually require that you lay your biases to the side in order to assess the natural world around you, and quit trying to explain your book with the world, instead let the world show you what it is. And it's right there for anybody to go look at and for anybody to challenge. And if you think that scientists are wrong, show it. Quit talking and show how they're wrong, or at least put forward some other mechanism, or not that you have to do that, but do something other than just say, well, no, they're all wrong because my book's right, because that's essentially what we get to in the end. There's nothing that supports any of it. And I actually feel bad for Peter. And I do want to point out, sorry, I'm rambling. Sumami in the chat, though, in your chat, talking about how this is fixed through education. And she's absolutely right. If people like Peter were given a better chance at life through education, maybe some of them wouldn't do these things. I wouldn't have wasted over 20 years of my life believing in stuff that is fairy tales, And we
He
gotta
did.
we gotta push for education.
He did give it away that he was raised reading the Bible, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much his beginning to it all. So
Yeah,
there it is. And like Joe says, when he was growing up, they're teaching this stuff to you, not just at church, but in the classroom. So we can't fault the individuals. We can't fault people. And Joe knows, and how many other people we know used to believe in these things. Okay. Can't fault them. We can fault the organizations because we think they are being dishonest.
Well, we got a question.
Check. Yeah, Peter, my advice is, where are you getting your young earth creationism information from? Okay. Then check that organization. Check out what other, Professor Dave or somebody out there, just wiki, their rational wiki, look up and see what other people say about them. And then go in between and look and see. If they're saying they don't have a single paper to their name, well, look it up. You can go look it up. And if you don't find a single paper to their name, maybe that's not the best person to listen to. The person that has hundreds. Yeah, no, but the person who has hundreds or thousands of papers with countless citations from their peers, maybe those are the people to better listen to.
Remain skeptical.
And I wanted to say thanks for everybody for stopping by. We had a lot of people on both channels stopping through. Joe and I always appreciate all that. I'm sorry we couldn't keep up with all the chat. But I see a lot of stuff talking about, and
they're having fun. They're having fun.
Yeah, you need to give it a rest. You know what I mean?
Teach the controversy. Why don't we teach the controversy? First of all, I don't agree that it's controversy. I think that only on YouTube are we making it appear that it's a controversy. It's actually not even on the same playing field. We have facts and evidence-based conclusions and post hoc rationalized conclusions based on the Bible. Those two things are not equivalent. They are not in any way. And I'm sorry that we make it appear that they are BE, but this is how we have fun.
And and like I say, I can take it all out of the argument. Okay, I can grant you God and your religion and everything else, and I would point to your peers who are not thinking that the Flintstones was a documentary. Okay. Most religions have accepted things over the years. The Vatican has a, what do you call it for their telescope?
Observatory.
Thank you. The Vatican has an observatory. Okay. Yes. When they look out there, they may see God, think about God or whatever, but they're seeing the same stars that everybody else is. Okay. There's a difference there. And science you can do no matter what your belief is, no matter where you are in the world, you can do good science. But it has to be repeatable. It can't just be, well, I have an idea, so you have to believe me. It's weak. It's weak.
Methodology.
And we've heard it from, Jim Bob and all the rest of them. They use the same weak arguments, right? They go on and on and on and on and on. Well, if all the scientists are wrong, like Joe and I both said, step up. You know what a lot of scientists do? Prove other scientists wrong. Because that's part of verifying that what somebody says is true. That if you mix two chemicals together, this is what's going to happen. So that everybody knows that when they mix these chemicals together, that's what's going to happen. If every once in a while something else happened, that would be news, right? That would be Nobel Prize. If you could make a chemical reaction work a totally different way at your house than everywhere else in the world, We want to hear about it. Maybe it's the next fuel source or something. Submit the papers, okay? The idea of a conspiracy or that scientists are out to silence anybody. Hello, again, we have the internet. And Hovind and Ham use the internet a lot for being so anti-science. And I always point out, if you're that anti-science, get off the internet. Give up your HVAC. Give up your refrigeration. Give up your electricity. Go find yourself a nice little cave. Don some leaves. Beware of leaves of 3. And, stand up for it. Be anti-science. Be all, you don't need anything. You don't need medicine. You don't need glasses. Walk around in the forest, bump into trees. I think that would be entertaining to see Ken Ham walking around the forest, walking in trees because he doesn't have glasses on. Come on. Science is great, right?
Ken Ham's never been in a forest. Come on.
It gives you so many things if you just stop to think about it, all right? It's not a conspiracy to disprove a God or Christianity or any of this nonsense, okay? Scientists have the best intentions to figure things out, and a lot of great things they figured it out, and we appreciate it. We really do. The rest of these folks, hey, I'm sorry. I think it's rude when they badmouth you too, because I know, so many scientists have lived in cots in their labs and all these kind of things. And it's like, give them a break, And Peter, get a hold of us. We're always open at the captive desk. Joe's always open at the Kentucky Atheist to have a conversation. We may not agree, but we try to be civil here, have a good time. And, we'll let the audience decide, right? And Joe, Mr. Busy. Why don't you go ahead and take a minute, Joe, and let everybody know what you got going on coming up.
All right. So for those of you that don't know me, I think I know everybody here, though, pretty much. My name's Joe. I'm the Kentucky Atheist. You can find me over on the channel, The Kentucky Atheist. I do a lot of the same thing. I try to correct the bad ideas put forth by theists and creationists specifically. I have guests come on to further that conversation and to help normalize the atheist community itself. I believe all people should be treated like people, and that we should approach the world around us with a bit of skepticism. And since science has demonstrated itself to be the best tool we have to examine the world around us, I think we should use that tool to examine the world around us. Over on my channel, I always got a lot of great stuff going on over there. Guests coming on. We do member streams every week for the channel members. We do a show every Sunday at 2 p.m. Where usually I interview another atheist guest. Sometimes we have theists. Coming up in the next couple days, we'll have a political show on with me and Robin talking about the political climate in the United States. And I will also be doing a members only video reviewing my interaction with Darth Dawkins and Sam from over at Standing for Truth. So all that great stuff coming up. Please go over there and check out the channel and like and subscribe if you can. But other than that, I just want to say I appreciate everybody coming to watch, and I appreciate all the comments and interaction and stuff. I love you guys for being you guys, and that even includes you, Behe. So thank you so much for watching us, and I had a great time with Dave as usual. And one more thing, Dave. If you're on my channel watching this and you're not subscribed to Dave's channel, Captive Desk or the Grassman Chronicles, you should definitely get over there and do it. Me and Dave see eye to eye on a lot of things and have had a lot of great shows together, from the Mothman and Grill and Ham and all those different things. We've had a great time doing it. So please go check out both channels. That's all I got. Thanks, guys.
We had Jeremiah drop in late, but thanks for stopping by. And yeah, thanks to everyone. There was a lot of folks in the chat. If I didn't mention you, sorry. I tried to say hi to everybody. But hello, everybody. And
Goodbye, everybody.
yeah, everybody, you have a good one. Take care of each other. And if you check out Peter here or there or whatever, you know, we try to give Peter benefit of the doubt. So let's not give him a hard time if we see him out there in the YouTubes. He doesn't seem to be an enemy. So, and Sydney, good to see you, Sydney too. People drop. Gee whiz, we should keep going, Joe. People are still showing up.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
we can always churn butter.
We can churn butter. We're gonna churn butter. Here we go. Get the meme ready. Jim Bob, you out there? We're churning butter.
We need some music. I can't churn butter without a beat.
All right. Until next time. Goodbye.
Peace.